Today, we step into a story that unfolds quietly in homes, bank accounts, courtrooms, and nervous systems, one that survivors often struggle to name until the damage has already taken root. Financial abuse is one of the most hidden forms of narcissistic control, yet it is also one of the most devastating. It begins softly, disguised as help, guidance, or protection. A partner who insists they're better with money, a spouse who wants to take care of everything, a lover who slowly becomes the gatekeeper of every dollar, every decision, every breath of autonomy. What looks like support becomes surveillance. What looks like partnership becomes possession. As the relationship deepens, the narcissist's financial control expands like a tightening net. They may forbid their partner from working or sabotage their job performance with constant crises, guilt, or manufactured emergencies. They may hide accounts, lie about income, or create debts in the survivor's name. They may weaponize money to reward obedience and punish independence. Every purchase becomes a negotiation. Every bill becomes a battlefield. Every financial question becomes an accusation. The survivor learns to shrink their needs, silence their instincts, and apologize for wanting the basic dignity of access to their own life. Clinically, the impact of this control runs far deeper than empty bank accounts. Financial abuse rewires the nervous system. Survivors often develop chronic anxiety around spending, even after they leave. They may freeze when opening mail, panic at unexpected expenses, or feel ashamed for buying necessities. Years of being told they are bad with money or irresponsible create a learned helplessness that lingers long after the abuser is gone. The body remembers the threat. The mind remembers the punishment. The survivor's relationship with money becomes fused with fear, shame, and self-doubt. The aftermath extends into the legal and social world as well. Many survivors emerge with ruined credit, debts they never agreed to, or financial obligations forced upon them through manipulation. Some face ongoing harassment through the court system, vexatious litigation, refusal to pay support, or strategic unemployment designed to keep them destabilized. Friends, family, and even professionals may fail to recognize the abuse, dismissing it as normal money problems. But financial abuse is not a disagreement. It is a strategy, a system, a method of control that leaves survivors trapped in cycles of dependence and despair. Yet even in this darkness, there is a path forward. Healing begins with naming what happened, not as a personal failure, but as a deliberate pattern of coercive control. Survivors deserve validation, education, and trauma-informed support. They deserve professionals who understand the intersection of financial harm and psychological trauma. They deserve tools that rebuild both their autonomy and their nervous system's sense of safety. Recovery is not just about balancing accounts. It is about reclaiming identity, agency, and the right to make choices without fear. Across the most widely shared articles, podcasts, and documentaries on this topic, a consistent truth emerges. Narcissistic financial abuse is not an accident. It is not a misunderstanding. It is a calculated method of domination that leaves deep emotional, psychological, and practical scars. Survivors are not weak for being caught in it. They were targeted because of their strengths: empathy, loyalty, hope, and the belief that love can heal. The abuser exploited those qualities, but those same qualities can become the survivor's power in rebuilding. One of the most important insights from clinical experts is that financial trauma behaves like any other trauma. The body reacts to money as if it were danger. Bills trigger panic, budgets trigger shame, decision-making triggers paralysis. Survivors often avoid looking at their finances because their nervous system has been conditioned to expect punishment. This is not irresponsibility, it is a trauma response. And like all trauma responses, it can be healed with compassion, patience, and support. Another key theme is the role of secrecy. Narcissistic financial abuse thrives in silence. Survivors are often isolated from information, from resources, and from people who could help. The abuser creates confusion around accounts, contracts, and obligations, making the survivor feel incapable or overwhelmed. Breaking this silence through documentation, education, or trusted support is one of the most powerful steps toward freedom. Information becomes oxygen, clarity becomes safety, truth becomes a map out of the maze. Experts also emphasize that financial recovery is not linear. Survivors may struggle with overspending, underspending, or avoiding money altogether. They may feel guilty for buying small comforts or terrified of making mistakes. These patterns are not flaws, they are echoes of the abuse. Healing requires a gentle, trauma-informed approach that honors the survivor's pace. Small steps matter. Small wins matter. Every moment of clarity, every boundary, every act of self-trust is a victory. The stories shared in documentaries reveal another layer. The system survivors must navigate are often unprepared to recognize financial abuse. Courts may misinterpret financial chaos as mutual conflict. Creditors may hold survivors responsible for debts created through coercion. Employers may not understand the sabotage that led to job loss. This systemic blindness can re-traumatize survivors, making them feel unseen and unsupported. Advocacy, education, and community become essential tools in bridging this gap. Despite the devastation, survivors in these stories also show extraordinary resilience. They rebuild their credit, their careers, their confidence, and their sense of self. They learn to trust their instincts again. They learn to make decisions without fear. They learn that money can be a tool for safety rather than a weapon of control. Their journeys remind us that healing is possible, not through perfection, but through persistence, support, and the slow return of self-trust. As we close this chapter, remember that financial abuse is not just about money. It is about power, identity, and survival. It is about the right to exist without being controlled. It is about the right to make choices without punishment. It is about the right to rebuild a life that belongs to you. And no matter how long the aftermath lasts, you are not alone in it. Your story is valid. Your healing is possible. Your future is still yours to claim. To support that healing, consider beginning with a financial safety map, a gentle, judgment-free inventory of what you know, what you don't know, and what you need to feel safe. This is not about fixing everything at once. It is about replacing fear with clarity, one small truth at a time. You deserve to see your own reality without distortion. Next, practice trauma-informed money rehearsal. Short, compassionate sessions where you interact with your finances in low-pressure ways. Pair these moments with grounding techniques to teach your nervous system that money is no longer a threat. Over time, these micro-practices rebuild confidence and autonomy. Finally, seek community-based reality checking. Safe spaces where you can speak your truth, share your numbers, and receive validation from people who understand coercive control. Isolation is where financial abuse thrives. Community is where survivors rise. And so as the lantern of truth continues to glow, may you remember, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are rebuilding. And every step you take is a return to yourself.
Today, we're diving deep into a form of control that doesn't leave bruises, but can be just as devastating: narcissistic financial abuse. But we're not just going to talk about the tactics. We're going to explore the hidden battlefield where this abuse actually takes root, and that's your subconscious mind. And we'll talk about how reprogramming it is the real key to your freedom. You know, for so many survivors, the journey begins right here, in that quiet, still moment after all the chaos, when the emotional and financial fog just starts to lift. It might be a paycheck that went missing, or a secret credit card statement you find, or maybe just 1,000 tiny cuts that finally make you realize, hey, the numbers are telling a story that I just can't ignore anymore. That little whisper, that's the start of everything. That whisper of doubt, it often comes after the cage has already been built, almost without you even noticing. So how does this control even begin? Well, it rarely starts with some big, obvious act of aggression. Instead, it's often disguised as something that looks a whole lot like love. Does that sound familiar? It so often starts with an offer that sounds, well, wonderful. A relief, right? It feels like you're finally being taken care of. But what's really happening is that dependency is being sold to you, gift-wrapped as security. This offer to help is actually the very first bar of a cage designed for total control. So let's be absolutely crystal clear about what this is. This isn't about one partner just being better with budgets. No, financial abuse is a deliberate, systematic pattern of coercive control. The key words here are deliberate restriction. It's designed on purpose to make you dependent, to keep you off balance, and to make leaving feel completely impossible. And look, this isn't just a series of random, unfortunate events. It's a system, a whole architecture of control. Maybe they accidentally sabotage that job interview you were so excited about, or they create debt in your name that acts like a leash, holding you back. A huge one is weaponizing competence, constantly telling you you're just bad with money as the reason to keep all the accounts and passwords a secret. Each of these things is another bar in that invisible cage. Okay, so we've seen the external tactics, right? The bars of the cage. But to truly understand how this whole thing works, we have to go deeper. Because the real target was never just your bank account. It was always your mind. 95%. I want you to just think about that number for a second. According to researchers, this is how much of our mental activity is governed by our subconscious mind. It's the powerhouse running behind the scenes. It's where we store our beliefs, our habits, our emotional programming, and yeah, our trauma. It's the operating system we're running on every single day. And this is the core of it all. The abuser's goal is to completely bypass your logical, conscious mind, that little 5%, and install a program of helplessness and dependency directly into the other 95%. Why? Because the subconscious doesn't argue, it doesn't reason, it just accepts what it's repeatedly told. So what does this programming sound like? These are the lines of code. Through constant repetition, these messages lodge themselves deep, deep in the subconscious. They stop feeling like opinions, and they start feeling like fundamental truths about who you are. This is the slow, deliberate erosion of your entire financial identity. Let's connect the dots and see how this code actually plays out in real life. The words on the left directly create the feelings on the right. When you hear, "You're irresponsible" enough times, of course you become terrified to even look at your bank account. That feeling of being totally overwhelmed by a simple budget, that's not a character flaw. It's a predictable outcome of being told over and over that you can't survive alone. These are trauma imprints, not personality traits. All right, so we understand the cage, and we understand the programming that keeps it locked. Now, let's shift gears and talk about how to stage the jailbreak. This is where we move from just surviving to actively reclaiming your life. I really want you to absorb this reframe. It is so powerful. Leaving isn't a failure. It's not you running away. It is a monumental act of liberation. You are exiting a system that was designed from the ground up to control and exploit you. It is a defiant, courageous act of sovereignty. The very first step in this jailbreak is detachment. And it's probably not what you think it is. Detachment isn't an emotional reaction. It's not about being cold or uncaring. No, it is a deliberate, strategic choice. It's the moment you stop pouring all your resources, your money, your hope, your precious energy into a black hole and consciously decide to reroute them back to yourself. And once you've created that space for yourself through detachment, you arm yourself, and your most powerful weapon is knowledge. Seriously, financial literacy isn't just about spreadsheets, it's about liberation. The moment you start looking at the real numbers, the fear of the unknown starts to get replaced by cold, hard facts. You begin to rewrite the story and see that the person who called themselves your provider was actually a massive financial liability. This knowledge gives you a clear roadmap for what to do next. Okay, so we've staged the jailbreak and we've armed ourselves with knowledge. Now comes the most important part of the whole mission, the internal work. It's time to rewrite that toxic code that was installed in your subconscious. So how do we actually do that? Here are 4 concrete, trauma-informed tools. First, it starts with narrative reframing, consciously changing your inner story from "I was irresponsible" to "I was controlled." Then, you start building a new financial self with identity affirmations. Visualization is also incredibly powerful because your subconscious responds to imagery way more than to logic. And finally, autonomy rituals. Simple things like opening your very own bank account. These are deeply symbolic acts that signal safety and sovereignty to your mind. Now pay close attention to the wording here. These aren't your typical "I am rich" affirmations, which, let's be honest, a traumatized nervous system is probably just going to reject as a lie. Instead, they're gentle. They focus on the process. I am learning. I am becoming. This kind of trauma-informed pacing makes it so much easier for your subconscious to actually accept this new empowering identity. Okay, let's bring this all home. It's time to reframe the entire process of financial recovery. Because this isn't just about spreadsheets and budgets. It's an essential act of reclaiming yourself. I really need you to hear this. Every time you check your own bank balance, every dollar you put into your own savings account, that is an act of defiance. It's an act of reclaiming your power. It is a small, steady signal to your subconscious that you are safe, you are capable, and you are in control now. For a long, long time, somebody else was writing a story using your bank statements, a story of dependence and control. But that story, it's over now. You get to pick up the pen. You are the author. So the only question left is, what's the first line you're going to write?